all of us are familiar by now with the fentanyl, the Oxycontin, whole kind of opioid crisis that struck the United States that had been going back as far as 1999, in which it is estimated that 450,000 people have lost their lives. And as you also may be aware, there was a lawsuit against the manufacturers, mostly Purdue Pharma, the company which produced Oxycontin. Now, it appears that lawsuit has now been settled, with Purdue Pharma filing for bankruptcy. Now, they're doing this to resolve thousands of opioid lawsuits that have been filed against them, and they've won. The company's Sackler family owners, the family that owns Purdue Pharma, are personally going to contribute $4.3 billion to the settlement. Now, the way they're going to pay this out is quite interesting. They've set up public trusts, and the company will continue to function and pay money into those trusts, and then those trusts will pay out to individuals, cities, municipalities, etc. that have received rulings. Now, this was done out in September 2019 when they were facing 3,000 lawsuits accusing the company of fueling the national opioid crisis through deceptive marketing. Well, it appears that a judge did agree with the people that Purdue Pharma was misleading. Now, the overall payout in compensation to the victims and, like I said, cities and states is going to be more than $10 billion. Now, this new legal entity will distribute money to states, local governments, and tribal organizations for their opioid abatement programs. Now, the Sackler's personal contribution of $4.3 billion will be paid out over 9 years. Obviously, you can't just take $10 billion and expect it to go right away because, frankly, they don't have it. So they have to set up a thing to pay it out over time. And it's interesting, the Purdue board chairman Steve Miller said, "With drug overdoses still at record levels, it's time to put Purdue's assets to work addressing the crisis. We are confident this plan achieves that critical goal." It's interesting listening to them talk as if somehow they actually care, when they very clearly don't. They're acting like they care now that they have to pay out for the damage that they've done. But it's kind of like that old, complaint. Reminds me of Disraeli's speeches, in which he complained that if your conscience doesn't stop you from doing something before you do it, then it has no right to complain afterward. If they had no conscience going in, knowing that they were causing this, destroying, well, essentially leading to the deaths of almost 500,000 people, kind of hard for me to believe that they have any kind of conscience about it now. The various trusts would be funded with the initial cash infusion of $500 million immediately after the company emerges from bankruptcy, and another $1 billion generated from the new entity's assets and operations through 2024. In other words, they create a trust with a bunch of money in it, and that trust buys investments, and then when those investments pay off, that money goes out to the victims. So they found a way to monetize paying out for the lives that they've destroyed. But in the logic of capital, this makes all that much sense. They don't really have to pay out that much from their own pockets if they could set up investments that make that money for them. Interesting. Now, the plan would also create a publicly available repository for documents related to the government's investigation into alleged misconduct in the marketing of opioids, which would become available once the plan is approved in bankruptcy court. The Massachusetts Attorney General Maria Healey said, "The Sacklers became billionaires by causing a national tragedy. Now they're trying to get away with it. We're going to keep fighting for the accountability that all families all across the country deserve." It is amazing that you can kill 450,000 people, almost 500,000, profit off of it, and not even face the possibility of going to prison. Imagine being such a powerful mass murderer that you were essentially free from any prosecution for what you did. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the very essence of capitalism. Or at least American capitalism, anyway. And it shows the utter and complete psychotic monstrosity that is a system run for profit, or at least a pharmaceutical industry run for profit, where the deaths of 500,000 people line your pocket, and you don't even really have to suffer any real serious consequences for it.
Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.